Today's hearing is the second in a series of hearings examining the role of the United States in the Middle East. This hearing will focus on the immense humanitarian crisis emanating from the region. The images of hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children fleeing for safety should challenge every moral fiber within us. And there's a people just like us that want only to be able to raise their families in dignity and cherish the same values and things that we all care about, and yet we watch them on television in these desperate circumstances. We all know that the scale of this. We all know the scale of this tragedy, but it is worth again outlining the numbers. In Syria, a country with a population of 22 million in 2011, more than 4.1 million have fled the country, and more than 7.6 million are displaced inside the country. So, half of Syria's population is not at home, not living in their hometowns, but in some other place. Some estimates put the number of deaths in Syria at over 300,000. I know that number, people have different estimates, with the Assad regime responsible for over 100,000 civilian deaths. Let me say that one more time. The Assad regime responsible for over 100,000 civilian deaths. In Iraq, 8.6 million are in need of humanitarian assistance and 3.2 million displaced. Solutions must address why people are fleeing. I look forward to hearing the views of our witnesses today. Nancy, welcome. You didn't miss anything, actually. But I believe that after 4 years of war, there is a perception that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. As Assad continues to barrel bomb his own people, the Russians and Iranians continue to ensure that he has the means to do it. More than 1 year after establishing a global coalition to counter ISIS, we learned that the main beneficiary, Iraq, has allowed Iran, Russia, and Syria to establish their own coalition within a coordination cell in Baghdad. It now appears that our administration is seriously debating some type of an accommodation with the Russians in order to fight ISIS. It's difficult to understand how working alongside the backers of Assad could in any way stem the flow of refugees who are fleeing the barrel bombs. It is important to remember that the war in Syria began with Assad, and he's still doing the same things today on a daily basis that he was doing at the time. And I do want to digress and say I know that David Miliband took a very opposing view to most of the Labor Party when he at one time served in the parliament, and felt that interaction inside Syria should be taking place by Great Britain. Many of us felt the same way, and as crass as it may sound, I think all of us today, as we watch what is on television and see these refugees and the circumstances they're in, all of us are reaping what we sowed. We didn't get involved at a time when we could have made a difference. I hope our witnesses can help us understand the scale and effect of the humanitarian crisis and what steps the United States and others should be taken to mitigate it. But I would like to again stress that we cannot simply rely on humanitarianism alone in this crisis, and that it is incumbent upon us to work towards realistic policies that would bring back the hope of a normal life to those in need. Thank you again for appearing before our committee, and I look forward to your testimony. And with that, I'd like to turn to our distinguished ranking member.